Ladies and gentlemen, a couple of days ago, I was sitting here doing what I usually do, which is come up with content that you will enjoy and laugh at, and I was really blindsided by something that came up on my YouTube feed. What is this? What? Hello? Huh? Now, this clip from a previous collab that I did with Hikaru brought back really bad memories, and what I decided to do is create a video making fun of myself and giving you the full story of how I lost to a 1500 rated player up a queen. So here we go. This setting, we are playing a Chess 960 game. This is called Chess 960. It's called Fisher Random. The back row of pieces is shuffled. The only rule is that the king needs to be between the rooks so that you can castle to either side, and your bishops need to be on opposite color. Now, the game begins with pawn to g3, which is a logical move looking to open up the queen. I play pawn to b6. Now, at this point, white has multiple options. He's obviously got to deal with the threat on the queen. And no, don't worry, the game does not begin with me taking the queen. It's not that simple. Yes, it is, actually. My opponent literally could not have given me a cleaner game up a queen. I won it in the fastest way possible for the cheapest possible method. Okay, now I've captured your attention, right? You've only been watching for 90 seconds at this point, and obviously you're like, wait, I did not expect this. Well, now you're gonna be on the edge of your seat, right? So here we go. So the setting, I think this was like a tournament. I was running like some Fisher Random tournament, and my opponent is rated about 1500, right? So now higher. So e4 is a good move. E4 traps my bishop. I cannot move the bishop here, or take this pawn. What I need to do here is I need to activate my army, and you know, I need to maybe strike at the center. So I play pawn to e5. Very good. Old Gotham, new Gotham on the same page. So b3. b3 is a great move if after g6 I also would have taken this pawn and hung my own queen. But you know, I just decided to take right away, and here I do in fact have the option of hanging my queen in one move. But I am neither my opponent nor Alexandra Botez, so I choose not to do either of those things. Right, so rook takes e4. I've activated now my rook. I hit the center, and it gets even worse here. I win another pawn. Opponent here plays a good move, knight to e2. This is avoiding the trade of pieces, which is smart because if you trade pieces, then I'm just going to be winning. But now it's time for me to rescue my bishop. First, I play knight to f6, and then my rook gets attacked. And then I bring my bishop back. So now I'm going to be guaranteed to trade at least one more piece. I mean, how simple can this be? Next, I will bring my queen into the game. When you have the extra queen, you need to bring the queen into the game. Pawn to a3, it's a very scary move, which also just cleanly blunders another pawn. I don't take it, though, because I'm an imbecile, and I don't know that bishops can go that far. Although I did spot the other bishop diagonal, so I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just a moron. See, now, normally when I analyze games, I have to give a little bit of sarcastic commentary of low elo play, but I can't be too vicious. But now that I'm analyzing my own games, I can just tear myself apart, and you can enjoy it, because normally I'm poking fun at the lower-rated players who are making silly mistakes, and like some people in the comments who like hate watch all of my videos, even though they don't like any of my content and only read mean comments, are like, how dare he? But now, now this is your vengeance, because I'm going to insult myself so much. So knight to a2, a fascinating move, looking to develop the knight in the only capacity that is possible. I play rook takes e2. I mean, why not? You know, this guarantees a trade of some pieces. So rook e2, and I don't have to take this, but I choose to. So now I've traded off 2 more pieces. I mean, opponent has 4 pieces remaining, right? So now you're probably like, Gotham, I've been watching this video 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Also, how did you know it was like that exact time? It's because when I say that, I'll click back into my OBS as I'm recording. It's pretty cool, you know? It's very slick. You don't see it. That's how I know. There you go, little YouTube secret. Yeah, how did I lose this, right? I'm a genius. Sometimes it takes genius to do stupid things. I don't even know. Long castle, by the way, that's how you castle. So the king on this side, the king would end up here and the rook would end up on that square. So to castle in this starting position, you would just need to move this knight, and to castle short, to end up on king and rook, you would need to move the bishop. Okay? Now you know how to castle in Chess 960. Wonderful. For example, here, and the king would end up there, but we don't have a rook there anymore. This rook cannot be used to castle this way. You can't use the rook to castle both sides. Okay, king to d2. Time to activate my queen. There it is. h5, and here comes the queen. Knight d2, and of course... Okay, well, that... I mean, idiot. I don't know why you wouldn't play this move. Okay. Now it's queen h6 time. Moron. Why do you need more defense of this knight? What are you doing? Okay, now don't hang your queen, play queen h6. This is when I would be... Okay, well, of course, now we just take. Yes, very good. So now the opponent is down to 3 pieces. And now I'm definitely playing this on the next move, right? If I don't play this on the next move, I might punch myself in the face. Okay, thankfully I played it on the next move. Okay, great. It's like me making fun of, you know, lower-rated players when I'm like, you have a queen, why aren't you using it? Okay, queen to h6. Now we attack this. Rook to e1. Smart move. And now, at this point, folks... At this point is where disaster struck. Be glad you made it 5.5 minutes into the video, because this is where disaster struck. At this point, I saw a sequence of moves which would transform the game into a victory guaranteed. And this is what I saw. I saw that if I play rook takes e3, opponent will take my rook. Then I will go knight to e4 check, right? Checking the king. Opponent cannot take with the rook because it's pinned to the king. So after take, knight e4, they would take like this. Then I would play bishop to c5. And then the rook would be pinned and my bishop would hit it. And because it's opposite colors from this bishop, it's not a defendable situation. So I pre-moved queen to e3. And then it's either checkmate or that's it. And the thing about pre-moving this and then knight to e4 is that it's basically forced, because if you don't take my rook and I go knight e4, you're still in a lot of trouble. So here, I pre-moved rook here, 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 and here, took my hands off the keyboard. And then disaster struck, because when I played this, you see, I don't know if my opponent knew I was showboating. I would be inclined to believe that to rain on my parade they were. And that's the beauty of it. All's fair. All's fair. I don't know. But here, the opponent saw, I think, that I was pre-moving these two moves. So they played this. They did not take and anticipated the bishop move. And then they played rook takes knight, so that I don't have time to take because I've already pre-moved this. And now we go from me up a queen to me down a rook. The most dramatic turnaround in the history of chess between two players with a 1,000-point difference. Now at this point, practically speaking, probably what I should do is drive off of the nearest bridge. Unfortunately, I was not in a vehicle. So the next thing that I should do is probably take one of these things. Now, if I take the rook, which is what I did because I was so shell-shocked, I have 7 pawns left. And yes, I do have some pawns for the piece. I do have something. The problem with this position is that my king is so passive. And what I mean by that is, like, if you just let my king march up the board, this is actually kind of holdable. Kind of. The problem is that at the end of the sequence, I'm also going to lose a pawn, because if I go here, opponent walks in. Activity of the king is everything in the endgame. Now, of course, at this point, I could have resigned the game. I could have just said, you know what? It's over. You got me. But no, folks, no. Listen, I'm a man of my word. And even though I didn't have YouTube videos back then called Never Resign, I made it my mission to try to beat my opponent, even though I am completely lost. Now, you know, I could have maybe trapped the bishop here almost a bishop trap, and then really could have scared the guy. But the problem is that the bishop would sneak away over here, and that's why bishops are better than kings. So king to e5, here, g4, and what I'm trying to do here is create a flank pawn and infiltrate over here. So I'm trying to deflect the opponent's king. And then if the opponent gets a little, you know, we're taking this a little bit for granted, how easy this game can go, because if I get in, it's a draw. Okay, if I take enough pawns, and let's not forget, that is a winning endgame, bishop and that pawn versus my king, because the pawn is the same color square as the bishop promoting. So just a little thing to keep in mind. So the opponent here plays a really important move, pawn to c3. All right, I go d5, and yeah, 4 on 4 is not going to break through a bishop and a pawn. Finally, a nice pawn break. I try to prevent the bishop from taking, but look at this king move. Very clean. That's completely unnecessary, but they get it right back on track, and there it is. That's also unnecessary, but yeah, the bishop can just stand and protect the pawn, and the king goes in and takes everything. And, you know, I wanted to allow my opponent an opportunity to practice converting this endgame as I left my pawn there. You know, I thought maybe they might accidentally move their bishop and let me queen. Well, I wasn't able to sneak it. And now I really thought I might get stalemated. And you know, truth is that the opponent was stumbling a little bit. Not the cleanest conversion. Not the cleanest conversion. Kind of faked me out there with the pawns, proceeded to lock their bishop out. Wasn't sure if they wanted to make 2 queens 3 or 1, but then decided, you know what? I'm gonna just do this. King and queen. Ain't nothing more vintage than the king and queen checkmate. And that is the story, ladies and gentlemen, of how I, your humble favorite teacher, well, maybe those things don't go together very well, lost to a 1500 rated player up a full queen. Now, the craziest thing is, my opponent hasn't logged into chess.com in 4 months. They rode off into the sunset celebrating that victory and went on to greener pastures. And hopefully we see them back on chess.com one day. And hopefully one day I can get that rematch.